funny, jovial guy. But in between those lines, I mean, he's not playing around.
Shaquille, fadeaway, got it!
He played with such a viciousness. I've watched him put centers to shame. He brought that belief back to Los Angeles that we're playing for titles and nothing else.
Shaq the man, most dominant player in the world.
What most people don't know is our story goes back when I met you
in Orlando.
In Orlando.
Right.
You guys were playing the Pacers in the playoffs. And,
I remember that.
Yeah. And I came to you, asked to take a picture. And you were like, yeah, come here, young fella. Yeah, where you from? You know.
I remember that.
And that's when, it's the first time I met you.
I don't know if you know this, but I was in Atlanta, still with the Orlando Magic. We get a call from Jerry West, my agent, 2 a.m. Me and Jerome, we out at the club. Jerry West says, I got what you want. At that time, I was asked for 150. I knew I wasn't gonna get 150, but Jerry got me 120. So he called me up to the room, and he put the piece of paper on the thing. And before I could sign, he stopped me. He said, let me tell you something. I just acquired this kid from Charlotte. You and him gonna get about 3 or 4 championships.
I had the opportunity, to play against guys like Shaq and Corey Byron Scott, Eddie Jones, Cesar Ceballos, and it's been a great training camp so far. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it to the fullest.
My first year we were playing, and he kept posting up, but they kept fouling him, so he kept going to the free throw line and kept missing them. And so he'd throw the ball out to me. I'm not throwing that shit back in there, right? So I kept shooting him, right? So we get in the timeout, and he's like, hey, I'm open. I'm like, okay. And so we go out, and same thing, hey, I'm open. Okay. There you go. Come back in, hey, dude, you got to throw me the ball. I said, man, fuck that. Get it off the rebound if I miss, bro.
You told him this. First year.
18 years old, man, 18 years old. And I must have been out of my damn mind.
Portland has 3 timeouts left. The Lakers have 2. Bryant to Shaq. Kobe Bryant worked into the lane, and Shaq hammered it in. And the Lakers are the 2000 NBA champions.
Who would Shaq be if he had your work ethic?
He'd be the greatest of all time.
If Shaq had your work ethic,
he'd be the greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time by a mile.
Sure. He'd be the first to tell you that. For sure. I mean, this guy was a force like I have never seen. I mean, it was crazy. A guy at that size. Generally, guys at that size are a little timid and they don't want to be tall. They don't want to be big. Man, this dude he did not care. He was mean. He was nasty. He was competitive. He was vindictive. I mean, I wish he was in the gym. I would have had fucking 12 rings.
There was so much conversation during the Shaq years. Were you guys friends?
No.
All you need to know is when we go out there and play, we're together. Period. Big fella got to be happy. I want to win, he wants to win, and that's all we're concerned with.
Well, I'm obsessive, and I believe we need to work night and day, figure out how to get to where we need to go. And he wanted to do it a different way.
Do you think if he would have had the same level of commitment to the game as you did, you guys would have had fewer feuds between each other?
Yeah, because I don't deal with people that don't commit at that level, but then act as if they do. I don't deal with that. I don't. It's real shit. I mean, listen. So, like, we used to get into stuff all the time because it was like, he would say, okay, Kobe's not throwing me the ball. And, media would take it and run with it and all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, bruh, if you were in shape, by the time I run down on a fast break and run back and then run down, you're still coming down the first time, bruh. Like, what the hell do you want me to do? He felt I should play a certain way, give the ball into him. I said, I'll give the ball into you if you work. You don't work, you don't get the ball. He said, throw me the ball. No, work. I never pulled any punches. What you see is what you get, man. Neither one of us are gonna go, smile in your face and then go over here and we never did that. We'd say it right to each other, man, and be done with it. Now let's go out and win. Right, so a lot of our contention came from that.
And even though he was older, you were still confronting him. You didn't care.
Oh, I didn't care, man.
From
listen,
day one,
bro.
From day one.
I knew for sure Rick Fox, my teammates, they all thought I was absolutely crazy the day me and Shaq got in a fist fight. After that day, they were like, okay, Kobe, you're certifiable.
Fist fight.
Oh, yeah.
Fist fight.
I'm not backing down. Listen, either you're going to
and
whoop
Shaq
my
have a
ass
fist
or we're going to have a night. But, there's a level of respect. And for Shaq, too, by the way, I know he's told me that day was a big turning point for him because it was like, he's generally used to talking trash and saying what he wants and nobody really stepping up and challenging him on that. And when he saw me challenge him on that, he was like, this kid's crazy. All right, I can win with that. And so that was kind of the beginning of our relationship, I think.
One thing that I noticed about you from the jump was that you didn't respect people that you could bully. You didn't respect them, and you test them, and you'd see what they let you get away with, and you'd see if they would fold to that. And that was the first thing I observed about you in that competitive fire that you had. And then it all started making sense to me. That's how I see him play with that rage when it comes out. And that's how I see guys, when he plays, they back away from him because they're afraid of him. They're afraid of that confrontation, that physicality.
It's funny, when we sat down, we did the interview together, he finally copped to the fact that after we won championships, he was like, okay, I can just relax and coast over the summer because I know I got a teammate who's going to be training 8-10 hours a day. And I was like, see, that's the BS.
That would piss me off.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Right.
That's the issue. But also, it became it's not something that we couldn't have worked out either because we've been doing it, right? But I got to a point in my career where it was the rumblings, and some of it created by him that, Kobe can't win without me. And it was like, hold up. No, it's not true.
Right.
It's not true.
Right.
And I'm not going to retire and have people hold that over my head. Mm-hmm. I said, no, let's find out.
Yeah.
So it was just time to go separate ways.
Well, Shaq and I now have a great time together. And his son, by the way, is going to be a phenomenal player. I'm looking forward to getting in the gym and working with him a little bit. But Shaq and I's relationship has always been a good one, man. Always been a good one. We've had our moments.
Right.
But through that friction, we managed to win 3 championships in a row.
You speak to that friction a little bit, but say it was never about us. The media made it about us. What did you mean?
Well, I mean, when you're playing in a market like Los Angeles, everything becomes magnified, right? And so it's never really the issue between two people because those things can be solved with a conversation. But when things get hyped up a lot, all of a sudden you have other people intermingling in between. And we weren't mature enough to tell everybody else, shut up. Shut up. I know what to do. I know the right thing to do. We're going to do it. But still in all, man, it was a hell of a journey.
When you broke the record in the second quarter of the night's game against the Philadelphia 76ers, about 5 minutes later, got a call from Mr. Shaquille O'Neal.
Who, you did?
Yes, I did. Who wanted to extend a congratulations to you for being the greatest Laker of all time. Those were his exact words. How does that make you feel?
It feels great because of our history and everything that we've accomplished. I mean, that's the first thing I always think of is the positive things that we've accomplished because we accomplished so many of them as a tandem. And so to hear those words coming from him, means a little bit more than them coming from another player. And I think in our career, it should be remembered that we were a bad tandem. And I think it'd be hard pressed to find another tandem that had 2 alpha males on one team. That just doesn't happen. And then I remember you taking me down to Jerry's Deli. Back in the day, we had the big flip phones. You know what I mean? I didn't have one though. You had one. You put it. I said, man, I ain't get one of those, man. That's pretty damn cool. Man, you had the big joint. And just hanging out with you, man, and you showing me the ropes from day one.
He's fond of saying it's the greatest tandem ever created, never to be duplicated. Do you agree with that it's never to be duplicated?
I think Jordan and Pippen were a little bit, they won significantly more than we did, but those 2 pieces also fit better. I think, Shaq and I are the more explosive tandem. It would be like pairing, Jordan up with Wilt. I mean, that's probably not going to work for too long. And so in this situation, that's kind of what you wind up having. And, we wound up winning 3 championships with it.
There was a year there in 2003 where I had 40 points in 9 straight games, right? Shaq was out. It was a toe thing. So Phil comes to me before the stretch and says, Kobe, we need you to take over the offense. I'm like, all right, cool. So that literally—
Say no more.
I got it. Fine. I got it. So that literally started the streak of 40 straight games, 40 points in 9 straight games. Shaq comes back from injury and Phil goes, I still continue to do it, right? And then Phil calls me to his office, goes, hey, we're starting to lose the big fella. What do you mean? Well, he's not getting the attention. This 40-point streak is starting to kind of take away his fire to prove something, right? So I need you to start dialing it back. I'm like, what? He says, we're going to lose him, and we need him in June. Okay. All right. You have a game against the Clippers. I think I had like 38 or something like that. And I had a chance to score 40 again. It was a blowout game. I dumped the ball in the Shaq instead of shooting a wide open shot. The 40-point streak ended that night.
Wow.
That was it. And that's inside stuff that people don't know.
Right.
And you sent me, you went into
People
Phil's
don't
office
know.
and said, are you happy
Yes.
now?
Yeah.
Because Phil was like, hey, we got to dial it back. We're starting to
That's
lose the big fella.
Perfect Kobe, too. He's like, you got to dial it back. You're like, all right, I'll score 38 instead of 40.
Well, I mean, this is the streak thing. It would have been 10 in a row. I would have broke a record.
Right.
I would have broke the record, but instead, It's amazing how time flies. Just got to say congratulations to you. The most gifted physical specimen I've ever seen play this game, size and agility, and just natural talent. So I just have to say congratulations. And what you have done to this city, what you have meant to this city, has been absolutely historical, the run that we've had together. And I know you've played for other organizations, but you'll always truly be remembered by playing for one, and that's here with the LA Lakers, man. Congratulations. Your number has officially been immortalized, and you deserve it, man. Enjoy it.